Hi everyone, it's TanyaMFK here with your 52 Weeks of Momentum lesson recap. We are in week 19. If this is your first time here, welcome. I am Tanya Marie Figueres-Kreisinger, more easily known as TanyaMFK. I am a member of Benjamin Hardy's 52 Weeks of Momentum course, and I come here every week to just share the insights and the lessons and things that I'm learning as I go through the course. This is in no way a substitute for the actual course, with the most obvious reason being I'm not Benjamin Hardy. There's also tons of resources, tools, and groups and wonderful things that we get by being in the course. But if you did miss your opportunity this year, then at least you can tag along, learn a little here, and get your own piece of momentum for the year. So as I mentioned, we are in week 19, and this week is really, we just kind of revisited the worksheets that we've been working on, which there are many of them. And if you caught last week's lesson, then you'll know that we worked on the 10-year vision tool, as well as the quarterly goals and some other ones. So we're continuing to learn about that and to dive into that. If you're kind of the overachiever like me, got them all done right away. But this is giving a good reflection. And if you haven't done them all, then this is a great way to dive in and get a little more insight as you're answering those questions. But as we went through that, I think one of the biggest and greatest reminders that we had was that going through these questions, as I mentioned last week, I kind of took a cynical approach at first, like I've already answered these things. But what we were reminded of is that when we do these things repetitively, it's telling our brain what to look for. The brain can't look for something it's not looking for, right? We have bazillions of messages coming our way, not just every single day, but every hour, especially now with technology. We have our phones, we have our notifications, we have billboards, it's coming from everywhere. And now it's crazier now, right? Like there are messages in everything. You have an app, there's messages in your app. There's messages in your messenger. They're everywhere, right? So there's a ton coming at you. So many that as fast as our brain works, our brain cannot actually process all of the information and the messages coming at us every hour, every single day. So it does filter things out. It filters out what we've told it is not necessarily important, and it shows us what we have, whether consciously or subconsciously, told us is important. So that's what it starts to notice. So this goes, one thing, this goes negatively as well. So if you are someone who's kind of harping on yourself and, go, oh, I'm always messing up, I'm always doing these things, then your brain is going to say, oh, look, there's another time we messed up. Oh, look, you screwed that up too. And keep bringing that up. How fun is that? Okay, so this also works with our positive things. If we're focusing on these things, then your brain is going to say, oh, look at that other great thing that we accomplished today. Look at that other win that we had today. It's going to start filtering out the crap and start bringing the good stuff to us. Now, this both happening, the crap and the good stuff, but our brain is going to be focusing more on that because we're telling it that that's what's important. Now, we can see this easily happen when, you're looking for a gas station. If you're focused on trying to find a gas station, you're not going to notice, the grocery stores or anything else that you pass. You don't care because I need a gas station. Same thing, Starbucks. I don't care where the gas stations are. Where's the Starbucks? I'm looking for that green logo. I'm looking for that. Your brain's going, okay, I know, got it. I'm on it. I'm going to keep looking for that. We notice this as well with if you've ever bought a car or you thought about buying a car, then especially if you actually end up buying it, you start to see the car everywhere, right? You're like, oh my God, everybody owns one of these. Everybody. Did everyone just get up and buy that car with you yesterday? Was like the dealership just packed and everyone was like, oh my God, we also need this car. No, the car was always there. It had always been there, but you didn't care. You weren't paying attention and your brain wasn't trying, you weren't, was filtering that out. Your brain was like, we don't need to know every single make and model of the cars on the road right now. We have other stuff to focus on. But now that you've put this in the forefront, you've looked at this vehicle over and over, you're thinking about, you're pondering, your brain's like, oh, okay, this thing's kind of important to us. So I'll make sure to bring it up when I see one. And it does. And now you're like, oh my gosh, it's there, right? It's everywhere. Because we told our brain, because it's what we chose to focus on, and our brain goes to work for us, right? So if that happens with cars that we're looking for, what can that do with our goals? What happens when you write down your goals every day? When you're thinking about your goals all the time, when you're constantly being reminded and putting yourself in that mind frame, not something you write down once in January and go, yeah, well, I hope I do that. That's my goal. Imagine what your brain will do if you're doing it every day, if you're focusing on it every day. If you are, it's your brain going to start looking for those opportunities. It's going to go, oh, didn't you want to do that one thing? Look, there's a gym over there. Look, there's a track you can run at. Look, did you ever notice that there was those free workout center thingies? I don't know what they're called. They have in the park sometimes, right? Like, you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even notice I was there. But your brain is going to start looking out for it because you've told it to. You've told it it's important. And you've done that. The easiest way to do that is through journaling. Journaling is the easiest way to put your goals down and have a daily reminder and to put your focus and train your subconscious on what to look for, what matters, to keep an eye out for those opportunities related to those goals, right? It's such an easy thing to sit and write it down all the time, to reflect. So the best thing to do is to get into what Benjamin Hardy talks about all the time, is like getting into a peak state, right? Because you can't like come to journaling begrudgingly. I mean, if you do, like, awesome, good for you that you're still just pushing yourself to do that. And you are going to get something out of that, of course, but ideally it'd be fantastic to get into a peak state, whether that's a meditation or a prayer or, a cup of coffee, if that's your thing, or whatever. And just, I splash cold water on my face. I kind of get like, woken up. And then I do 15 minutes of meditation. I've just gotten into this whole binaural brainwave thing. I'll talk about this some other time. But I do the theta brainwave. It's like on YouTube. I plug in, I do like 15-minute meditation for that. And then I do my journal. Now, my goals before, I was actually doing the journal first and I wasn't experiencing that much awesomeness. So I've now switched up and I'm noticing a big difference. So again, get into that peak state and then get into your journal and start writing it down. And that's the thing. A lot of people are like, well, where do I start? What do I do? Just start by writing your goals, right? That's the easiest one because you've already determined that. So you just, even if it seems weird, like, I still want to lose 10 pounds. I am doing this, whatever that is. And Benjamin Hardy mentioned a lot of time to write it in past tense as if it's already happened. And that, again, might feel weird, but it starts to feel really good too. Because when you say it in this like positive, accomplished way, you're like, oh yeah, that was nice. I want to be able to keep saying that. So maybe I'll start to accomplish this goal and get it done because that felt really good. And I want to keep feeling good. All right. So that is another great thing. And now I mentioned last week that I had a big breakthrough when finally approaching the worksheets with that student's mindset, right? And that learner's heart. And this trickled down to my journal as well. Because when I first started, I was kind of, when I first started, honestly, it was great. I was like, wow, I finally kind of feel like this journaling thing's doing something. I always wanted to do it, but it just never seemed to do much at all. So I was like, And I didn't have a game plan, anything. I was just writing, like, maybe, am I writing poetry? Like, I don't know, just started writing. But this time when I had, write down your goals, I could write about what I was learning in the course. It was going great. But then it started to kind of trickle off. And as I mentioned before, I started to fall into the trap of just doing things to do them, to mark them off my list. And when I had that jolt and that reminder of like, that's not what this was about. That's not what you spent your money for. I was like, who's grading you? Who cares? This is about what you can get out of it. Then I came back to it with this learner's mindset, this student's mind. And when I I don't know, maybe it started because of answering those questions. But it flowed. Oh my gosh, it flowed. I just started writing. And honestly, when I start writing, I don't have some agenda. I'll start to write down my goals if I'm really blank, but I'll also just start writing whatever's in my head. Like this morning I got up at this time and then this, and you know what? And then that happened. And it's sunny out all the way to like, I don't like that. I wonder, I should probably look into why I don't like that. And I sound like it's a crazy person's monologue, right? That's what it is. It's a crazy person's monologue. I'm asking the questions. I'm answering the questions. And it's the most beautiful thing ever because I'm getting this clarity. I'm finding things to look into. I'm having these aha moments. And I'm sure I know I'm not the only one who's had this kind of experience. And I'm sure many of you have done this on the phone. And for you ladies, I know you've definitely done this where you need something to wear. You're supposed to go somewhere and you're like, I don't know. You're stuck between two things to wear. So you call your friend up and you're like, I'm trying to think, should I wear the black dress or should I wear the flower dress? Well, the black dress, it's super cute, but it has this and it's a pain in the butt. And it is kind of cold out, right? Yeah. And the blue dress, it has that hoodie thing and it's a little longer. So it's more, I should probably wear the blue dress, huh? Your friend's like, yeah, right? You just called him and had a whole conversation on your own, answered the question, made the decision, and you were done with it. Like, you didn't actually need your friend, right? Not that their opinions doesn't matter, but you didn't really need it, right? That's one of those situations where you actually just needed the time and space. You needed something to let you think beyond what you were thinking about before you called. You stopped, before you called, you looked at black dress, blue dress, black dress, blue dress. They're both cute. They're both this. And then you stopped. But if you went deeper, if you had some sort of mechanism that allowed you to continue those thoughts and go, well, there's this or there's that and that, you would have been able to come to that same conclusion on your own, right? That's the journal. That's what the journal allows you to do. So just take your brain and let it go. And you're the stenographer. You're just going to write down what it's saying, what it's going through, what it is. And from that, you can go, oh, that's an interesting thought. I could look more into that. Maybe I should find this, or whatever however it manifests yourself. But we are constantly pulling our brain's attention to here, to there, look at this, we need to work, we want to do this, we want to do that, or look at the TV, or whatever. And we rarely, if ever, let it just do its thing. Let it just go. Give it some freaking space, right? Give it some time to say, you know what, brain? Do you. Just take a moment and do you. And I'll just be here. I'll just write it down for you. Don't even worry about it. I'll just write it down, right? No, we're never doing that. That's the problem. That's why this journaling is so helpful and so powerful, so clarifying. This is where you're going to find that genius. You're going to find those aha moments, all of these things from something as simple as journaling. It's that easy. So I think, Benjamin Hardy in this lesson, he started to talk about journaling, and I really just kind of took a swoop down that rabbit hole with it. But thinking about these things, making this a habit, really bringing this into your life and seeing what benefit it can do. And it's not just me. I mean, you can look at, listen to Benjamin Hardy. He talks about it a lot in the book. If you haven't read that already, get on that. Willpower doesn't work. But he's not the only one. There are so many people and writers and successful people who will tell you they had a journal. They had something that they wrote down, the bullet list, whatever it is, they write it down. It's beyond just this, that would be nice one day. No, we write down what it is, what we think, how it could happen, all of this stuff. They make it real by writing it down. So whatever the version that is for you, highly, highly recommend that. Go back to last week's lesson. Listen to those questions. If you haven't already, listen to those questions and write them, answer them in your journal. Start thinking about them and answering them in your journal. You're going to see so much power and clarification if you just start with something as simple as that. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. So, there's a whole part of our subconscious that comes into this as well, because your subconscious doesn't argue. It takes whatever you tell it as truth and runs in the background based on those beliefs. So if you're telling it oh, you suck and you're terrible at everything and, you're the worst person ever, you can't do anything well, then that is what's going to be running in the background and going to be directing everything that you're doing and everything that you're seeing. Now, if you're doing the opposite and you're telling wow, I'm so amazing, I'm accomplishing my goals, I'm looking at these goals, then that's where your subconscious is going to help direct you. And you can do that and you can train that again by going through the journal. So just amazing stuff, guys. Like I said, start by just writing your goals down. It doesn't have to be, if you know where to start, then start there. But if you don't, start with writing goals down every day. I do it anyway. I actually just write it every day as a reinforcement. Lots of the things I've been reading, if you've read Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton, some other things just constantly tell us that it's not just positive thinking. It's really about changing our beliefs. And so for me, writing down those goals every day, putting myself into a focus and reminder that that's what I'm here for, and also telling myself that I'm awesome and can totally meet these goals has been super powerful. So yeah, do those things and answer those questions from last week. And that's really it. All right, that's it. That's it for this lesson. So if you liked this, then that's awesome. Click that subscribe button and you'll get next week's lesson. Of course, you can always go back to all the previous ones and check those out as well on the playlist. And if you're an entrepreneur and you want to learn more about taking these concepts as well as skill building and dive into them more, then follow me at TanyaMFK on Facebook and Instagram. And that's it. Have a great week. Thanks so much for hanging out. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.